This video is going to be all about the North, the biblical North. Let's start with the cardinal direction north. North is a symbol of the permanent or the eternal. This is where the polar star leads people to God's throne. It's permanently visible in the sky. It's the place of God's celestial dwelling, Isaiah 14:13, and from which his glory descends, Job 37:22, with blessings or judgments, Ezekiel 1:4. He is the true king of the North. The North is represented sometimes as evil. It's represented as a symbol of disaster. Some people say hell is there and there's a black hole there. Other people say it's a moving piece of ice, and all of this information is false. The enemy of God's people came from the north, Jeremiah 1:14 through 15, Ezekiel 38:6, bringing destruction. But in a sense, the enemy was a false king of the north who tried to usurp God's role and finally was destroyed by the Lord. Zechariah 2:12, Daniel 11:21 through 45. The north is a positive place. The book of Enoch. Enoch travels north. From thence I advanced on towards the north to the extremities of the earth. And there I saw a great and glorious wonder at the extremities of the whole earth. I saw there heavenly gates opening into the heaven, 3 of them distinctly separated. The northern winds proceeded from them, blowing cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. From one of the gates they blew mildly, but when they blew from the 2 other gates, it was with violence and force. They blew over the earth strongly. Heaven is above us, above the firmament. However, the Bible makes it very clear that God's main throne room is in the north. The north is a definite location on one side of the earth. And the north would be in the direction of the North Star Polaris. Polaris sits over the North Pole in the northern celestial pole, which is above the north and to the right. Job 26:7 says, God stretcheth out the north over an empty place. And it's in this northern region that astronomers have discovered an empty space that is so vast it is virtually incomprehensible. Although the heavens are filled with stars, it seems that behind the northern star there's an empty space. The North Star is one of the brightest stars in the sky. It's also considered a directional star because it does not move. It is fixed in the north. Sailors would use this star to find their way at sea. It seems as though the star was placed there to indicate that when you are lost, you should look to the north where God dwells. It is at the North Pole where we see beautiful aurora borealis lights. They're greenish streamers of lights in the night sky, and it's truly an amazing sight. More amazing yet is the fact that the Bible states in the book of Revelation that God's throne is surrounded by an emerald green rainbow, Revelation 4:3. Could the greenish lights actually be God's emerald rainbow bleeding through Earth's atmosphere? I think so. According to the Bible, it very well is so. God walks upon the firmament above us, Isaiah 66:1 and Ezekiel 1:26. God's throne has water of life, bright as crystal, and it's a place where no ship can pass, which if you look up the history of the North Pole, there's the throne of God's lights shining down over that mountain. But if you look up the history of the North Pole, right here it is, Arctic and Antarctic discoveries and explorations. And at the top, it talks about impenetrable barrier of ice from shore to shore. July 23rd, 1770. Passing from 150 to 200 icebergs each day. So at the North Pole, there was ice from shore to shore. Thick weather, icebergs. This is an old map that you can get from ioc.gov. Packed ice as far as could be seen. And look at the map, look where that is, by Russia. Right here, icebreaker at the North Pole. And when is this? I think this is pretty new. A Russian ship, they want to break that ice. The reason I made this video is because I am a flat earther. The earth is definitely flat. And ever since I became a flat earther, I've always had a hard time accepting the fact that the North Pole is in the center of the earth. Because we have a flat earth map that pretty much the entire community has adopted as the official flat earth map, and it shows the North Pole as being in the center of the earth. The flat earth map is basically the United Nations map, which is a Masonic map with 33 sections. It's also a polar projection map, and you're looking at a ball earth from the sky. The UN publishing company, it used to be called Lucifer Trust, but now it's called Lucis Trust. So the United Nations is definitely something that we should not necessarily be copying their logo. And so many groups and books and people have adopted this map, and they use basically pseudoscience to make it work. The North Pole and South Pole have a lot of things in common, and right here is a picture of what they say Antarctica looks like, and it shows the dome and how far away the dome is. The South Pole and North Pole have the same kind of winters and summers where they have no sunlight at all between certain periods, and they have long periods of sunlight, like 24-hour periods of sunlight. They also both have the aurora borealis lights, or the northern lights, where you can see the firmament of heaven through the sky. And the reason why you can see the throne of heaven at both poles is because, one, they're highly elevated locations, and two, they are the closest locations that you can get to the firmament. North, the furthest north you can go. South, the furthest south. The North Pole is the northernmost point on Earth. It even has longitude and latitude at 90 degrees. Now, take a look at this map. It shows snow on the top and snow on the bottom. And this map is divided in squares, so it's a grid map. And take a look at this. You need to be able to fit the earth inside of a compass if you are a biblical flat earther. A circle is defined as a set of points from a fixed point, the center. A circle could be described as a smooth curve but has no straight lines, and it doesn't have any corners. Take a look at this map inside the Department of State, Washington. They don't have the North Pole and South Pole on here, but there's a circle of ice. So in order to make sense out of everything, we need to have a map that aligns with the Bible, the Book of Enoch, where Polaris should be, and directions, a navigational map. This is what the navigational map looks like. You should be able to divide a map into squares. And look at this old map, old world map. Antarctica at the bottom, Arctic at the top. They're both layers of ice. Huge walls of ice if you go look at the picture. This is a low air map projection. This is how a compass should line up when you place it over the earth. That is where the equator goes over the earth, which we will talk about the center of the earth in a future video. The North Pole is the northernmost point on earth. Its precise point of the intersection of the Earth's axis and the Earth's surface. This is just a diagram that basically shows how the sun is traveling over a year's period of time. And if you watch this diagram, you'll see the sun traveling over the center of the Earth, and that means that there cannot be ice in the middle. From the South Pole, all directions are north. Its latitude is 90 degrees south, and all lines of longitude meet there, as well as the North Pole. From the north, all directions are south. Its latitude is 90 degrees north, and all lines of longitude meet there, as well as at the South Pole. North, south, west, and east, and if you look at the gray lines, those are the corners of the earth. We have 4 corners of earth, and that is where you would draw the square. So ignore how I write with my finger, but those would be the 4 corners. So it's northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. And this just shows a picture of how water is traveling through the earth. And it's really important to know that God is providing our water. And our water is coming from the throne of God. And that place where the throne is, no ships can sail to that place. They are stopped by huge barriers of ice. So if the North Pole was in the center of the earth, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to get to the throne of God. Also, if the North Pole was in the center of the earth, that's technically the furthest point away from the firmament. So how would we see the lights from God's throne? Thank you for watching my video, and I hope that you will share this, and hopefully we can come together as a community and make the flat earth make sense and make it align with the Bible, the Book of Enoch, and navigation. I think when we do that, we're going to have a lot more people opening their eyes and realizing that the earth is in fact flat, and we cannot go beyond the North Pole or the South Pole. No one has ever flown over the North Pole and actually told the truth about it. And we also need to get back to some basic science of 2 opposite poles and 2 magnets attracting. We are not in a unipolar Earth. I appreciate your time. If you made it all the way through to the end, that's the center of the earth right there. And we're going to talk about that in my next video. And I think that when you guys realize where the center of the earth is and what's there, that is the key that can unlock all the mysteries of the flat earth.